Hey everybody, this is Collin with Courageous Canines Dog Training, back again at Save a Friend to Homeless Animals here in Skillman, New Jersey. Today I'm hanging out with my friend Chiki here. Now Chiki is available for adoption. Yes. Thank you, Miss Chiki. Hi. How exciting. You can find out more about her on their website as well as their pet finder. I'll list their information at the end of the video along with mine. But today I'm hanging out with Chiki out here kind of by the road, getting her introduced to, leash walking on a loose leash, as we would say. So the idea with leash walking is, oftentimes the biggest trouble people run into is, dogs begin associating the tension on their equipment and their harness with all of the success they get when they move and they get to sniff things, which, is awesome. But what we want to do is kind of create a system where all of those rewards are something that we start delivering and kind of withholding in response to what behavior they're giving us. So what I always like to do, especially early on with leash walking, when I'm just getting started with dogs, is a really simple reward training exercise around them bumping into the end of the leash and then coming back towards me. So the idea is to kind of create almost like a psychological bungee cord, right? Where every time they bump the end of the line, they just feel like coming right back over. Now, a few things that I'll mention right off the bat to make life a little bit easier. At times when we're handling dogs on leash and we want to make sure, we've got a good grip, I like to, one, make sure I've got my leash in a thumb lock. That either means I have the handle like this over my thumb coming out of my bottom of my hand, nice and strong grip. And if I shorten the leash, which I can do at any time to kind of improve my leverage versus hers, what I can also do is, again, take that leash, have it coming over my thumb with her on the inside of my palm. And I take the rest of the leash under my fingers as well. And I use that bottom thumb grip, as we say, to give myself a tight hold there on the leash. So as we kind of hang out here, you'll see I'll typically have, if I give her the whole leash, I'll have that handle in hand. If I don't give her the whole leash, I'll have it like this. But I'm also going to avoid wrapping my hand. This is actually a very easy way to hurt yourself and break fingers. So always, always, always just be cautious as you handle. Other little tips, keeping your elbows tucked helps to keep you with better control over your leverage and whether or not you kind of get tilted from the top. It's very easy to get pulled over or to hurt your shoulder if you have your arm out too much. The other thing is, literally sometimes when you've got a really hard pulling dog, lower your center of gravity a little bit. I might literally start lunging a little bit as I walk just to give myself extra leverage against those hard pull moments. But what we'll do as we get started here with Miss Chiki is just some really basic reward training. So every time she gets to the end of the leash and there's tension on the leash, I'm not going to yank the leash ever. I'm not going to increase that pressure ever. What I'm going to do is just try and wait for her to decide to come back towards me or move in any way that releases some of that pressure. And if she does, I'm going to praise and reward her with a treat. So this can require a little patience because it's a reward training exercise. Good. So every time we're like this, again, I just let the tension sit there. Good. As soon as she moves towards me, I praise and I treat. Good. Good girl. Let's go. And then I initiate motion. I usually like to use the words let's go. But every time we're at opposite ends of the leash, it gives me this opportunity again. Good. To reward train this motion in towards me and towards wherever this leash feels nice and loose. The thing is, I want tension to become this really, really strong signal to come back towards me rather than a signal to just kind of keep plowing ahead like a husky pulling a sled. That's the problem a lot of people find themselves in when they end up with a dog that can pull really hard. And I'll tell you right now, the type of equipment you use doesn't matter so much as the technique you use. I don't use anything painful because it's not necessary. What I use especially are back-mounted harnesses, chest and back-mounted harnesses sometimes, as well as martingale collars. The idea though is those devices don't really do the work for us. It's got to be this routine that we build in. So as I go to start moving around, I'll say, let's go, as I then start taking steps. And that's going to help her figure out that that phrase means we're moving together. Good girl, let's go. Every time she's looking at me especially, it makes it even easier to get her going. Now, when I get her attention and I'm just trying to reward train this eye contact, good girl, I'll often praise as soon as it happens if I can, because that praise gets to her faster than my treat or my hands. And as soon as I have that eye contact and I want to start adding my motion cue in, I'm just going to start saying, let's go, and moving away. Yay, good girl. Motion away is very attractive to dogs. It's hard to resist moving towards something that's moving away. Let's go. Good girl. Now, treats help her remember what she's getting right, but the motion itself is a big reward here. I love the fact that motion for dogs is so rewarding and awesome, right? It's physical exercise. It helps us come out here and do all this mental exercise too. And it's part of my reward system, along with stopping to sniff, along with getting to say hi if we're friendly with people or other dogs, stuff like that. Those are great rewards for good behavior. Right? Chiki. Good girl. Let's go. I can always use her name to get her attention as well. I just love reward training a lot of eye contact without the name, because it starts to make my dog want to check in an awful lot. Good girl. Let's go. Because when I have their attention, it makes it a lot easier to use every other hand signal or physical signal I've taught them. And in this case, when I say let's go, and then I start moving my body like this, right? I'm moving. That is part of my signal, right? My body language is part of my signaling here. So, good girl. Every time we just have, again, these little moments where, good girl, we're at opposite ends of the leash. I'm going to keep reward training. Now, especially useful tactic here. If you have a reactive dog, a dog that suddenly lunges really hard towards things they're excited by, even if it's like squirrels or birds on the ground, other dogs, the neighbors, right? Anything like that. What we do here is kind of counter condition the fact that, right, the tension on the harness often becomes associated with the triggering sequence where we go and we start chasing the thing. What we're doing here is kind of setting them up to feel that little bit of pressure on the harness and think, hey, I better go back and get something nice or move. Good, let's go. And I keep switching up what I'm giving them as time goes on so that they're getting access to the spots they want to sniff. Good girl. They're getting access to places they want to move to, you know, as is safe and appropriate. But what we're doing is setting them up for essentially this simple game of rewards and consequences, right? Where we pause when we're not walking correctly and we move together when we're walking correctly in this nice loose space. Good girl. She's starting to do really well here. You can see she's just staying within the radius that the leash creates, because hitting that boundary over and over again starts to feel counterproductive, especially because I keep changing directions. Got a lot of truck traffic and stuff to be distracting right here. Sometimes I just love to give some treats for functioning against those distractions, especially. Good, but also for the fact that it helps desensitize us. Let's go. Good girl. Now letting her get all the way over here to sniff something. Good girl, right? That's a fun result. And what we often think of as a life reward. So, right, getting to go do the dog stuff is often a really good result for any of our commands, really. But I especially love incorporating it into my leash walking because it helps make the world make a lot more sense to your dog, right? They want to know how to get to the next, stop sign. They want to know how to go and sniff the next thing over, or interact with the next thing over, or take their next few steps. They're just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So as we're playing around with this, we're really helping to teach them by taking advantage of their natural learning process. It's a trial and error sort of game for them when we do this kind of pure reward training, as we call it. Now, if I walk away from her and we end up at the other end of the leash, I'll just note there might be very slight tension on the line, but I'm really not pulling the line tight. I never want to add a bunch of tension if I can, because the less tension on the line, good. The easier it is to move around together nice and calmly. She's picky with her treats sometimes. What a good girl. You like the good ones. Can we sit? Nice. Good girl. Ready? Let's go. Good girl. Now, getting your dog really attuned to where you are and where you're moving is kind of that next half of the game. And she's already starting to focus in on me a lot because I'm reward training a lot of this eye contact. Let's go. Which means it's easier and easier to kind of move her along, move her along. Good girl. The idea with a command like let's go is I'm essentially teaching her, you know, let's move together at whatever pace I'm going. Good girl, let's go. So I like to practice stepping nice and slow. So at first I do a lot of zigging and zagging because it's easier for me to set the momentum and the pace that way. It's also harder for your dog to predict where you're headed next. So they have to really focus on you instead of sort of your normal route. And beyond that, what a good girl. It makes it easy as well when we do have those moments where our dog is really overexcited about going somewhere or, you know, running towards something like another dog or another animal. And what we end up doing is having a much easier time moving away from those exciting things. And that's always the easiest way to kind of bring the excitement level back down, is to increase your distance. What a good girl. You're so focused. Let's go. Nice. You can see she's already starting to think, wow, it's really fun to stay near this guy when we're outside together. Good girl. Can we sit? I'll start incorporating everything else she knows. Good. So that she learns how to function with those other commands in these different spaces. And I can also then reward those commands with more than just treats. I can use those commands to give her access to things. Okay. Like fun spots to smell. This is a reward just pretty much as a treat is for a lot of dogs. It's nice and, you know, engaging for them, and really it helps to calm them down. It uses up a lot of their brain power to stop and sniff. That's why we like to incorporate it into, you know, games like the Find It game, but just hanging out and sniffing a spot on a walk is really engaging for dogs. It's an enriching experience, as we would say, and it lets them do something, you know, that makes sense to them, right? They're using their brain to process all these different things. Sometimes, right, take a small taste of the random grasses and things. Let's go, let's go. But this is exactly good. Also a moment where I can use that game, that I've been playing to bounce away from something I need to just get moving on from, like an interesting smell that my dog just will not stop smelling. Let's go. Yeah, good girl. Let's go. Nice. Good girl. So I just wait. Nice. Good girl. That's so good, baby. Thank you. All right. Oh, thank you. Oh, girl. Oh, nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh. So, once again, I'm Colin with Courageous Canines Dog Training. This is Chiki. Chiki is available for adoption through Save a Friend of Homeless Animals here in Spillman, New Jersey. And I'll have my information at the bottom of the screen, as well as theirs. So if you'd like to check out more of what I do, you can. And if you'd like to check out Chiki or other pets that they have available for adoption here, you can do that as well. So thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, please tap like, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you'd like to see. Otherwise, I appreciate you. And so does Chiki. Yes, very sweet. Thank you. All right, have a great day. Chiki. Good girl, let's go.